Hey statistics kids, today we're going to focus on displaying categorical data and quantitative data. We're going to start with our first video on displaying categorical data. And the first thing we're going to look at is how do we create a bar graph and a relative frequency bar graph. Okay, so what I have over here is I have a frequency table which has our categorical variable people's favorite color, right? Okay, so we can see we have 5 people like blue, 4 like green, 2 red, 3 orange, and 6 pink. Now, what we want with this is we want to display this in a nice graph that summarizes what's going on. So for a bar graph, what we need is we need this x-axis, and on this x-axis, we're going to put the category. So that's favorite colors. And we have blue, so I'm going to do that in blue and put B for blue. We have green for G. Okay, we have red, and we're going to put an R there. We have orange. And finally, we have pink. So that's the x-axis there. Okay, now on this y-axis, we're going to put the actual frequency. So what I want to do when I decide how I want to scale this is I want to look at the min and I want to look at the max and decide, do I want to go by 1s, 5s, 10s? What do I want to do? So our minimum is right here at 2 and our maximum is at 6. So it would make sense to go by 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now I'm going to look at blue and I'm going to see that 5 people like blue. So I go up to 5, over and down. As neat as I can. Now I'm using my mouse, so not as neat, but that's okay. I'm doing my best. Green, there are 4 people. Now I want my bars to be about the same width, so I'm going to do my best with using that mouse. So 4 people like green, 2 people like red, 3 people like orange, so up to the 3, over, I'm leaning a little bit, and finally 6 people like pink, so up to the 6, over and down. Okay, so what should I have gotten from this? Categorical data, we can display doing a frequency bar graph, right? It's the counts. Okay, I looked at the frequency for my y-axis, decided the scale. Okay, I have my colors down here, which is my categorical variable, favorite colors. I want my bars to be relatively the same width as best as we can by using like our pencil or pen or mouse or whatever you're using. Now, sometimes statisticians prefer rates to counts because it gives a better story. I could say something like 3 more people passed the Algebra 2 test in my class than in Miss Stout's class. However, she maybe had more people, so I maybe did worse. Like my percentage of people who passed wasn't as high. A rate or a percentage can give us a better picture of what's going on, okay? So with that being said, let's talk about a relative frequency bar graph. To make that, I need a new column on my frequency table, and I need to find the relative frequency. So what I need to do first is I need to add up the frequency. So 5 plus 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 6 gives us 20. The next thing I need to do to get the relative frequency, I need to take this 5 and divide it by 20. When I take 5 and I divide it by 20, that's going to give me 0.25 in my calculator. I'm going to do the same for 4 divided by 20. That gives me 0.20. 2 divided by 20 is 0.10. 3 divided by 20 gives me 0.15. And 6 divided by 20 gives me 0.30. Now this is the rate or the proportion of the 20 people that like these certain colors. What we can do then is we can change it to percentage. And to change it to percentage, we can multiply by 100, or we can move that decimal or 2 to the right. So I would get 25%, 20%, 10%, 15%, and 30%. Okay, so now I'm essentially going to just do the same thing that I did up here. The only difference, right, is on the y-axis, I'm going to put the percentage, okay? My minimum percentage is 10. My maximum is 30, so I'm going to go by 5s, and I'm going to start at 5 here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to pause your video and try this on your own. And when I come back, it will all be done and you can check and see if you did it right. Okay, guys, now compare what you have to my graph here. Again, you can see the blue. So I made it up to 25% and over because the blue, 25% of them liked blue, okay? Green is 20, red is 10, okay? Orange is 15 and pink is 30. Now, one other way to display categorical variables are a pie graph, okay? So what I could do is I could look at this relative frequency here. And I'm not gonna make you do this because technically to do this, you need a compass, okay? And you need a protractor to make it the right way, or you can use a computer program. Obviously, when you're older, you might do that if you work in this kind of industry, but that's not a standard right now for you to make a pie graph. You just need to know that a pie graph can be used to display categorical variables. So you could almost see that, hey, this would be approximately 25%, and that's people who like blue, right? Green, people like green is about 20%, so probably something like this maybe, right? And so on and so forth, okay? So 10% is red, so I'm imagining, you know, like, right, like this maybe. And you can keep going with that. Okay, like I said, you just need to know that pie graphs are another way to display categorical data. And you also need to know that sometimes the data that you have, pie graphs are not, or pie charts are not useful. If you can look here, we have the percentage of 9th graders that like cheese pizza, as well as 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Right away, you can see this data does not add up to 100%. So I can't do a pie chart, but what I could do is I could do 4 pie charts, right? The 9th graders, I could put 45%, so that's going to look something like this maybe, right? Not quite. Let me erase that and do that again. I didn't think that looked very good. Okay, so 45% is not quite half. Okay, you get what I mean, okay? Which means 45% of the high school 9th graders liked cheese pizza. And the other, okay, well, the missing percentage are, they didn't like it. So that's 55% there. They didn't like cheese pizza. And again, I could do it for the 10th graders. 57% of them like cheese pizza. So you can imagine it being something like this. And then this represents the people who don't, okay? So the wholes are all of the 9th graders. So that pie chart is out of a whole and it shows who likes it and who doesn't. So there are times when a pie chart is not useful. Okay, what should you have learned? How to make a bar graph, a relative frequency bar graph, as well as a pie chart is another way to display categorical data. And sometimes it's not useful with the data that you have. If you have any questions, write them down right now, and then you're going to move on to quantitative data.